So let's start by going through the history of this coronavirus. In December, or actually in November, 41 cases of pneumonia started popping up in a city of China called Wuhan. This is where it all began. And initially, people only saw pneumonia, and it's common if you know every year there is something called community acquired pneumonia that happens around the world. People walk around with it, spread it, and you go get treated for it, and then people go about their daily lives. But this pneumonia during December was causing it was lethal. A lot of people were dying, a lot of people were getting ill, and it was not until January that it was declared as a public health emergency. Until then, it was just thought to be just regular pneumonia, but it was propping up in the city of Wuhan, and it was noted a lot of people who worked in a specific fish market in China. If you know, the Chinese population consume a lot of different kind of meat, most exotic animals that we won't consider as a meal or a diet, they would consume that. For example, um, snakes, bats, and it was thought that due to human contact with animals like bats, this is where it originated because bats tend to live in close proximity with other bats. They are very social animals, social mammals, and there is a reason most of the infection can be sourced to a bat. But snakes are considered to be reservoirs of this illness because you need an intermediate host in order for this coronavirus to pass. So it's thought to have found its source in bats or snakes. And initially, this coronavirus used to only spread from animal to animal. There was a point when it began from passing from animal to human. And we only get to see the worst cases um, and if you see, here is the pneumonia after 11 days. If you see, this is less cloudy here, you can barely see anything, maybe a little bit of clearance here. You can at least make out the lines or the marks of the lungs over here. So in order to respond to this illness, the Chinese government began building the hospital in just 10 days. That's how aggressively they tried to control this. So initially, it was spreading from this fish market. That fish market was shut down. People were panicking. Everyone was quarantined. The public was tested for this. And the government wasn't very transparent with the rest of the world about this illness because they try to quarantine it on their own, and they try to build a hospital and quarantine people. A lot of people died as a result of it. As you can see, the problem with this illness is the fact that it is growing at a very fast pace. A lot of people are getting ill in a very short period of time. That is the reason this has turned into a global pandemic. Until then, it was probably just an epidemic, and this is how they responded to it. Now let's start by understanding a little bit about the coronavirus family. So you can see that there is the alpha, beta, gamma, delta. There's a lot of different subsets of coronavirus. Coronavirus, the word corona comes from the word crown. Corona means crown. And if you look at the virus, it kind of looks like it's wearing a crown. And this is the genetic material of this, which is an RNA. It's not a DNA, so it's an RNA, and it is single stranded. And this is what it passes on in order to infect human cells. And mostly it is found to spread through the respiratory route. So it comes and sticks to the mucous membrane of your respiratory tract and injects that material, and it replicates at a very fast rate. Now, coronavirus, if you go and dig into the history of coronavirus, we have all had it at some point. It was first seen in 1960s. It was a bovine coronavirus which used to infect cow. So that's why I said initially it used to only be found within animals. And then it started infecting humans. And the first time we found that it was infecting humans was in the 1960s, 229E OC43. Then it, and also it is it it has a peculiarity that it would usually peak in the winter and spring, but it goes down in the summer. And we have probably been infected with children bringing them in. 15 to 20% of the common cold is usually by this coronavirus. And we probably don't think much about it. But this specific strain has appeared in different ways during different time in history. So in 2003, if you remember SARS outbreak, it was during that time they had this Hong Kong outbreak, SARS outbreak. These were all caused by coronavirus. Then there was one in 2004. And the reason it kind of fizzled out was because it was inefficient in transferring from human to human. Like we said initially, it used to go from animals to human, and then it went from human to human. But because of its inefficiency of that virus and due to a lot of mutation with time, it kind of fizzled out. Then in 2012, this was kind of an odd one because in the Middle East, where it's already really hot, they found this virus re-emerging over there. It was called Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome. It started in 2012, ended in 2014, and that also found its origin in bats. But that one has a really high mortality rate. There, the intermediate host was camels, because camels there is treated like pets. People kiss camels, they eat it. So it kind of spread from there. And that one had one of the highest mortality rates, and that was also caused by coronavirus. And again, it fizzled out because of inefficient human to human spread. So right now we are in 2019 and we are again seeing this virus. And unfortunately, this time the human to human infection is really rapid. And that's what we are trying to contain. We are trying to contain it through social distancing and other means. And all of these viruses, if you can see, it is a respiratory route, means it only affects the lungs, the respiratory tract. So everything related to your breathing is being affected in this. Now, this virus goes by a couple of names, which is called the Wuhan, where it originated, coronavirus, novel coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, because this is the second one, and even if that is the name, this is the illness that is caused, which is COVID-19. Now, the Chinese government did us a huge favor by trying to contain it with the L type. It was stopped in Wuhan. So it initially started out with these. Um, this is normally the strain that you found. The S type strain is normally what you found in communities in the previous examples of all the illnesses that we saw. It was caused by the S strain. Now, it kind of split because of the mutation. It split between S and L. And the L one is what we saw initially in China that initially began. And by containing it, the government kind of stopped it. But we noticed that the S strain is still causing illness. And this is what is causing the pandemic as of right now. Although it is less virulent than the L strain, it is still spreading a lot of illness. And that's why we're going to try to understand what to do about it and how to contain it.